8 Minute Productions presents Guide for the Film Fanatic, the podcast where we invite a guest to pick one movie from Danny Perry's seminal 1986 film reference book and talk to us about that movie. I'm your host, Jason Bailey, and across the mic and across the country from me is my co-host,
Michael Hull.
Our guest today is one of my favorite people, really. An award-winning cultural critic and journalist. As senior critic for Anscape, formerly known as The Undefeated, she won the George Jean Nathan Prize for Dramatic Criticism and was a finalist for the Pulitzer Prize in Criticism. She is an adjunct professor at the Columbia Graduate School of Journalism, and you may recognize her voice from NPR's Pop Culture Happy Hour or Fresh Air with Terry Gross. She is a contributing editor for Film Comment, and her byline has appeared at the New York Times, Rolling Stone, Glamour, Harper's Bazaar, and New York Magazine, among others. Please welcome back the, I don't say this lightly, remarkable Soraya Nadia McDonald. Hi, Soraya.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me.
I'm so glad we were able to get you on the new iteration of the big program.
Yes. Thank you.
How you holding up? Just in general, it's a rough time in our field and in the world.
Man.
How are you? I worry about you as I worry about all who do what we do.
Yeah. Like on the one hand, it's a rough time.
Yeah.
But then on the other, I graduated from journalism school in 2006. So I feel like I've only known rough times in our field.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's just sort of like rough and less rough, and maybe every once in a while lucky.
That's fair.
I'm hoping the lucky spinner is coming back up for me soon. I don't know.
Sure. It's like that big spin on Price is Right. Like you
exactly.
just kind of hold your breath as it gets closer.
Yeah.
Actually, no, let me turn this into a serious question. There is so much despair and bleakness surrounding all of us at the moment. Where are you finding joy and peace and comfort in the year 2025? What does that look like for you?
With animals.
Okay.
Truly. I have two cats.
Yeah.
One, is he still behind me? Oh yeah, he's asleep behind me. So Radimus is asleep behind me. And the other one is Cho-Cho-san, both named after opera. I call them the opera kitties. I love Radimus from Aida because he's like the one canonical non-fuckboy of opera. He's actually a decent guy protagonist. I mean, it's a tragedy. They both die, but
sure.
At least he dies with principle.
There you have it.
He's a ride or die. And then Cho-Cho-san, I wanted the end. Every time I see Madame Butterfly, I'm always furious for a week. It just lingers. I'm so angry.
Sure.
And so I wanted a Cho-Cho-san. I wanted a Madame Butterfly I could give a happy ending to.
That's lovely.
So yeah.
That's lovely. I would not have expected. I feel like if I asked Mike the same question, I'd get the same answer.
I just got a Rottweiler puppy. I never wanted a pet in my entire life. My wife's got a dog, 2 cats, 4 chickens. We already got kids. There's more than enough little things around here. And for some reason, I got a Rottweiler puppy, and it's the greatest thing. She doesn't know anything about the president. She doesn't know about nothing. She's just such a
you get
sweet,
so jealous,
pure soul.
Yeah, man.
It's just if there's a little bit of peanut butter, it's the greatest day that's ever happened. Right. It really, I've never wanted this before, but it's great, and it's happening to me too. And I think it's related to sort of just the pureness and the fact that they don't need to talk to me about healthcare.
Yes.
Or immigration or whatever. You know what I mean?
Radimus, he sleeps so soundly. He has better health insurance than I do. Mm-hmm. I'm you're so lucky.
Well, on that note, Soraya Nadia McDonald, what film did you select to discuss with us today on Guide for the Film Fanatic?
Okay, so since January, since the beginning of Trump 2, like, I have not been able to stop thinking about the Lost Cause and Reconstruction.
Mm-hmm. Can't imagine why.
Rewatching Gone with the Wind after reading Kevin Sachs' book is its own sort of like jaw-dropping experience.
Yeah.
Like, let's just see, like, just how liarly, like, just how mendacious this movie is, and you're just like, oh, these people are like fully delusional.
Okay, so on that note, let's take a look at the trailer. Now, this is not the original trailer. This is on a re-release saluting the centennial or whatever of the American Civil War. Like, that's the text on screen. It's like, yay, let's mark this anniversary, which is a little much. But there's the theme. There's Mr. Gable as Rhett Butler. And Vivian Leigh, of course, as Scarlett O'Hara. I think that might have been the image, like the morning after image right there, even, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
But here's your...
Gone with the Wind has captured the imagination and acclaim of the entire world.
The entire world.
The screen has never known a love story to compare with this. When Rhett Butler meets Scarlett O'Hara.
This is not even what the fucking movie's about. Nobody ever told me what the movie's about. Nobody was ever honest with me, and this trailer's not honest with me either. And I know the point of the trailer is not necessarily to be honest, but this is the whole discourse around this movie is a mess.
Yeah.
So they're selling it primarily as a romance. Like, they're selling the movie stars, they're selling this relationship, this famed literary matchup.
But this is the thing, she's not just a shitty, pampered, racist, like, uninspiring, awful, unsympathetic character who doesn't have a single positive moment in 4 fucking hours, but she's not even good at the romance. How is this supposed to be a romance? She's terrible at it. She fucks people she's not supposed to. She doesn't fuck people she is.
She's completely unreasonable. Like, huge narcissist.
She's a fucking... It doesn't make any sense to me.
She's useless.
Like, this sounds like I'm already yelling at you for the way that the movie is described literally in the trailer. We're not even out of the trailer yet, and I'm already yelling at you. I promise I'm not yelling at you. I am yelling at the fact of this, because that is exactly how it's always talked about, and it's not even that. I'm sorry.
Audio only listeners, we were just watching The Burning of Atlanta while Mike was
the best part of the movie,
burning the frame. So,
like, at one point are you like, oh, poor Atlanta? Like, no, fuck those guys. Get out of here. Are you nuts? Like, is this your first? You never seen a movie
Let me
before?
do the segment.
Sorry,
let me
Jason,
like
I'm
we
so
do
upset.
the things and then we yell. Let me do the thing first. So, Gone with the Wind was producer David Osa. I'm gonna get the job done. So, Gone with the Wind, friends, listeners, was producer David O. Selznick's 1939 adaptation of novelist Margaret Mitchell's Story of the Old South, per the opening credits. We usually give that proprietary credit to the director, but not in this case, and not just because, as we'll hear from Mike in a moment, credited director Victor Fleming, who also helmed that year's Wizard of Oz, busy dude, was not the only person who took on the job of director of this massive production, but Selznick really was a producer-auteur, overseeing all aspects from the acquisition of the film rights to casting to design throughout the 3-year pre-production period. Scarlett O'Hara was one of the most sought-after roles in Hollywood history, with an article in the June 1937 issue of Cinema Arts joking that every actress in town except Shirley Temple and Martha Raye was in consideration. The finalists included Paulette Goddard, Tallulah Bankhead, Miriam Hopkins, and Jean Arthur, with the role finally going to Vivian Leigh, a Brit! Yep. How dare they! Clark Gable was the popular favorite to play Rhett Butler, and so he did, though Ronald Colman, Gary Cooper, Frederick March, and Errol Flynn were all also reportedly in the running. I like Gary Cooper, but who the fuck would, why would, that would have, that's the worst casting imaginable.
Mhm.
All right. Anyway, Mike, what does Danny Perry say about Gone with the Wind in Guide for the Film Fanatic?
Then he says,
The most popular picture of all time. Margaret Mitchell's epic novel of the Old South was given grandiose treatment by producer David O. Selznick. It's a gorgeous film. It's exciting just to watch characters in their lavish costumes or the fiery red skies that often serve as the backgrounds, or shots of the Terra plantation. Picture has wonderful period detail and a fine assortment of characters, white and black, although we are led to believe that after the Civil War, blacks miss the old slave South as much as the whites do. Vivian Leigh is the beautiful, slim-waisted, high-spirited, emotional, spoiled, indomitable, manipulative Southern belle Scarlett O'Hara. She loves gentlemanly Ashley Wilkes, Leslie Howard, but he loves and marries altruistic Melanie, Olivia de Havilland. Spurned, Scarlett marries a man, Rand Brooks, she doesn't care about. He is killed in the war. She worries about having to wear black. She marries another man after the war in order to get his money and save Tara. He, too, is killed. That's when she agrees to marry a longtime suitor, Clark Gable, the equally strong and shrewd Rhett Butler. Yeah, his normal thing he does is insufficient to this movie. I'm feeling like, sorry, back to it.
Just
we can tell she
working
loves
through.
him as
We're powering through. We'll get to the yelling.
It's a special movie. It bends gravity
Yes.
around it.
We
can tell she loves him as much as he loves her, but she believes she still loves Ashley. The result is a tumultuous, unsatisfying marriage. When Scarlett finally realizes she loves Rhett, he's on his way out the door with his famous, "Frankly, dear, I don't give a damn." I'm sure Scarlett has so much strength and motivation that she'll get Rhett back. Film defies criticism. Suffice it to say that Leigh and Gable are perfect in their roles. They are witty, dramatic, dynamic, glamorous, and boy, can they kiss. There are other interesting characters besides Scarlett and Rhett. The women characters are surprisingly strong, even Hattie McDaniel's Mammy. I really like the scene in which Melanie sits with prostitute Belle, Ona Munson, in Belle's carriage, and thanks her for helping Ashley escape Northern soldiers. The Atlanta fire and the shot of the 1,000 wounded Confederate soldiers at the train depot live up to their reputations. Directed by Victor Fleming and uncredited George Cukor, Sam Wood, and William Cameron Menzies. Sidney Howard wrote the script with assistance from Joe Swerling, Ben Hecht, and John Van Druten. Max Steiner composed the score. Walter Plunkett designed the costumes. Leigh, McDaniel, and Fleming won Oscars, as did cinematographers Ernest Haller and Ray Renahan. Editors Hal C. Kerr and James E. Newcomb, and art director Lyle Wheeler. Best Picture winner, also with Thomas Mitchell, Barbara O'Neill, Laura Hope Cruz, Harry Davenport, Anne Rutherford, Evelyn Keyes, George Reeves, Butterfly McQueen, Jane Darwell, Eddie Anderson, Ward Bond, J.M. Kerrigan, Isabel Jewell, Victor Jory. That was an unnecessarily long list of people who are also in this giant movie.
Okay. Well, all of that said, I'm afraid we are going to have to push back on Mr. P's claim that the film defies criticism. But before we do get into those particulars, Soraya, what is your history with this movie? When did you first see it? What had you heard about it? How did it meet or not meet those expectations? Like, walk me through your journey with this particular picture.
Sure. So it really is its own thing. It's right. Like, it's just a character in American life in and of itself. It is
Well said. Yes.
part of the sort of like firmament of American culture.
Mhm.
And it's this really weird artifact because of exactly what you said, the way like everything seems to just bend in its orbit, like some sort of black
Mhm.
hole. Like it
Mhm.
just, and people just like lose all sense. And I think like the most memorable illustration of this for me is the fact that like when Oprah like got rich, when she got like rich,
Yeah.
she bought like this compound. I think it's the one in Santa Barbara. And she talked about this like on the Oprah Winfrey show that she wanted to name it Terra 2. Not in like an ironic way, not in like an eye-winking subversive way, right? But like I love this movie, like the aesthetics, the gals, the drama, the like it, you know, like, And it tells you something about, I think, like the power of culture, particularly
Mm-hmm.
at that point before everything was sort of sorted algorithmically,
Sure.
and you had more of a sort of like unified public that is consuming everything
Mm-hmm.
together.
Mm-hmm.
And how this movie becomes like so central to the American story and like
Right.
feeling American that
Right.
Oprah Winfrey,
Right.
descended from enslaved people, Oprah Winfrey,
Right.
is like, yo, I really fuck with this movie. I almost named
Right.
my estate after it. Like,
Right. Right.
so that's one instance. Um, Another one though is that like one of the things that like I think we will treasure long after he is gone is Spike
Mm-hmm.
Lee's just utter fury.
Mm-hmm.
Like fury and just also just a frustration with like
Sure.
American stupidity on some level. And
Mm-hmm.
you see that I forget which one. I think is it Black Klansman that he uses the overture for
Mhm.
um for Gone with the Wind. Like
Mm-hmm.
the truly like that and uh not the Klansman. The
Birth
movie,
of a
right?
Nation.
Birth of a
Yeah.
Nation, right? Like
No, he has a whole
and-
student film that's like an answer record to Birth of a Nation. Like, I
yes,
love that for him.
I
That's one
do
of my
too.
favorite facts about his NYU
Like
education.
there need to be more like Birth of a
Yeah.
Nation diss tracks. There
Yes.
need to be like and the same thing I feel like with Gone with the Wind. And so
Right.
like now I think actually I'm trying to remember when is the first time I actually saw this movie in full because I think it was after True Blood had been on television where again
Okay.
there was
Yeah.
a Tara, right? Like in that show
Yeah. Yeah.
where they tortured Rutina Wesley's character and like God, they put that actress through so like just
Yeah.
the most horrendous shit.
Right.
Yeah, I think it must have been like after that I actually watched it. And then
Well,
maybe
because
probably like drifted off like 2 hours
Yeah.
in because I was like,
Yeah.
why is this taking so long? This is so dumb.
I mean, it really is such a case of a movie that is so, like you said, omnipresent in the culture that you can go a long time and just think you've seen it because you've seen so much of it in other places.
Right.
That and I think to an extent that selective omnipresence is part of why the racism and idyllicness of it can be so shocking when you first sit down to watch it. Like, I have a really clear memory of feeling like I'd seen it, but knowing I really hadn't. And then one of the upteen re-releases, theatrical re-releases,
Yep.
happens in like late 90s, I want to say maybe like 99 on like a 60th anniversary or something like that. And it came all the way to Wichita, Kansas, right? And they're showing it at like our Showcase theater. And I'm like, you know what? I don't think I've ever seen this thing. This is when I should go see it. Like, this is my duty as a cinephile to take this opportunity to see this great American film that I've never seen. And then, yeah, you sit down and like 30 minutes in, you're like, what the fuck did I get into?
Right.
And realizing also that there's 3.5 hours to go. Like, that's the thing. When I sat down to rewatch it for this, I'm like, yeah, it's like 3 and change. And it's like, no, this is 2 nights.
Sorry.
This is 2 movies. No, it's, hey, you know, it's all for the culture. But this was your first time seeing it was for this, right?
I don't feel any obligation to cinema culture or American culture or anything whatsoever. Fuck all this shit. If it's bad, I don't need to fucking deal with it. Like, you know, I just don't.
Right.
And especially for like certain things you consume because, you know, maybe it's not the best thing ever, but you want to watch it. You want to have some opinion on it or whatever, you know, blah, blah, blah. I watched, what was that stupid Riefenstahl movie that's like, oh, this is supposed to be really
Oh,
good, even though it's
Triumph of
about
the Will.
Nazis. That movie sucks. That
It
movie
does
is
suck.
edited.
Yeah.
The only way that movie could be made is by, it's a sycophantic editor who's like, should have been smart enough to cut an hour out of that movie. Everybody who tells you that, oh, no, I know it's about bad things, but it's well done. It's not well done. It sucks.
It's not. It's not.
Like, but I don't feel any obligation. So anyway, I never watched it. I watched it for the first time last week for the show. And the only reason I watched it now is because I knew we were going to have Soraya on to talk about it. And I was like, well, I need to be able to follow what she's going to say because I know she's going to have something useful and is not going to be talking to me about how, whatever, how people really felt back then. But get the fuck out of here. Like,
Right.
Anyway.
Right.
Define people, right?
Yes, right. I don't need to hear that shit. Believe me,
It's
I
fine.
am surrounded by the white opinion. I'm well familiar with their feelings on virtually everything.
Well versed in that corner of the discourse. I mean, I do think. Okay, let's do this. Let me do the say something nice for like 40 seconds.
I'm actually
And-
able to do that.
Yeah, like, and then we'll
Yeah.
clown it for a while. Like, I understand on a level of technical craft,
Oh, absolutely.
it is astonishing. Like cinematography, set design, costume
Exactly.
design, special effects, crowd control, like on all of those levels, it for that moment in movie history was peerless. Like,
Absolutely.
Bro, this is the trains ran on time in Germany argument.
No. Not exact. I mean, yes and no, right? Like, yes and. Because, no, it's true. Like, there are still, like, some stills from that, like, that are just beautifully shot. Particularly, like, the burning of Atlanta. Like, it really...
right.
They made it look real pretty.
They did. They did.
But it says something, I think... It tells us something about American culture, about Americans and their self-conception, right? That the thing that you pour this much craft and energy and resources and time and devotion into is this paean to the lost cause.
Right.
Like, that is a magnificent piece of propaganda in the sense that it has been really powerful.
Yes, I think that's important. And as a corollary to that, I also think the kind of mass cultural delusion that you talk about when you're talking about Oprah as sort of the best example, but one of many examples.
Yes, Andre Leon Talley and Naomi, right? Like, they were like, oh, we're gonna reclaim Tara and we're gonna shoot these supermodels, like in Scarlett O'Hara's, like,
right,
girl, what?
That because it's so easy to glom on to the pretty pictures of the movie without talking about, thinking about, breaking apart what they're actually representing beyond pretty pictures.
But that's like saying it's a romantic movie without acknowledging that none of the romances are worth a shit, and that in fact she actively undermines most of them and is a terrible person and deserves everything she gets. It's so weird
That is
to
the
then
other thing,
call
right?
that a romantic thing.
She's so frustrating. Like,
I don't think any of the filmmakers like her. This is my major problem with this. I understand. I came into it knowing that it was going to be racist and fucked up, and I came into it knowing all of that. What I didn't expect is that Victor Fleming and Margaret Mitchell also hate her. This is the virgin flower of the Confederacy, right? If you listen to them talk, the whole fucking war was about letting this lady maintain her lifestyle and her feelings, and it was all about protecting her. It wasn't actually like keeping other people down was really just a thing they had to do in order to protect this virgin flower of the Confederacy. Okay, fine. So that's the thing that I'm being told is the greatest thing on earth and worth everybody dying for. And yet she's a moron. She's self-defeating at every opportunity. She's a terrible person.
She's completely insufferable.
So that's what they're fighting for?
But
that doesn't make
imagine-
any fucking sense.
Imagine, Michael, if you're a little white girl and you see how this white woman is able to behave like a complete and utter you next
my-
Tuesday and stamp her feet and cry and try to like steal her sister-in-law's man.
That's why I wanted to talk to you about
and
this.
Everything that she does, she
Yep.
fucking gets away with. She is considered the heroine of this movie. Like every white lady who is like, I am the star of my own life. I'm going to be the Scarlett O'Hara of my own movie. And it's fine because.
Yeah.
And you're like, where does someone get the gall to think it is acceptable to behave this way and expect love in return? And you're like, oh, there's a 4-hour movie about it.
Oh God, I have to go vomit. I'm sorry. I'll be right back. I didn't know. You're right. I hadn't that hadn't
the whole Karen origin story.
Oh my God, that's the subtitle. Gone with the Wind. The Karen emerges. Oh my God.
Like, dude, I mean, sometimes you have to kind of like sit back, like when you're able to sort of like remove yourself,
sure,
from a country and just sort of like look at it like from an outside perspective. And that's the thing I love about film criticism is it's sort of like you're kind of like plopping yourself into these different stories and scenarios and like and then thinking about them. And you watch Gone with the Wind and you think about like what it tells to other people who are not Americans who are watching this, and understanding this as like a portrait of American self-conception. And you're like, these people are crazy. Like, I'm like, oh my God, this explains so much about American foreign policy. These people are crazy.
And if you can't see the caricature in the black characters, then you may also not be able to see the caricature in the white characters. I mean, it's not like the white guys are particularly good people either. I mean, nobody's as bad as she is. But, there's a scene early in the movie where, they're talking about going to war and they ask Rhett what he thinks. And he says, well, there's no cannon factories in the South. So, and I mean, I backed the movie. I was like, wait a minute, what? Because this is, now we're like 20 minutes into the Lost Cause movie. And the only, like the hero of the movie, right? The only actor certainly as opposed to Vivian Leigh, the person that everybody was most familiar with, tells them early in the movie, we don't have any cannon factories. This ain't gonna work. Nobody likes these people. None of the people who made this movie or wrote this book have any respect for the South at all.
He's a complete nihilist.
The fact that the only northerner is a shitty person, the carpetbagger, doesn't mean that everybody down there isn't also an asshole. And again, a nice thing that they did in this that is common in movies of this era is that the servants are the only people who know how to do anything.
Yep.
Everybody who's not a servant is utterly fucking useless and has no autonomy, no agency. Right, the only competence whatsoever. And that's a common thing from movies of this era. But to see it so
you just want to scream at them, unionize, leave her. She was tired. Like,
how have I never heard any of this before? Like, I have been listening to podcasts and reading articles about this movie for days because I was like, I must just not be tuned into the discourse on this thing. But no, none of these. I feel validated coming in here and talking about this with two people who are like, yes, that's clearly present in this situation because I haven't seen it anywhere. How are we not? We are talking about the fucking poster for this movie where nobody's watched the movie or read the book since the 50s. I'm convinced, except the three of us. And this lady, Churchwell, who wrote a book a couple years ago about how this whole thing is like culminates in the Unite the Right rally. And, you know, we can blame it all on Gone with the Wind. I mean, right? Like she wrote a pretty good book about it. But anyway.
Because, you know, the other thing is that like there have been writers who have attempted to like sort of take this and like fuck with it, right? So like Alice Randall writes The Wind Done Gone, right, which is from the perspective of an enslaved woman, and then Margaret Mitchell's estate got like super mad and like tried to sue her. Oh yeah. Oh, I was gonna say, I wish, you know, like how Cheryl Dunye makes The Watermelon Woman. Like I would love if a filmmaker would basically make a movie that is the revenge of Butterfly McQueen.
Yeah.
I really would.
Yeah. I mean, the problem is that, even the entire history of the motion picture is, there are these totemic objects. The movies that we are told are the most important technical achievements.
Mm-hmm.
And like, can one of them not be horrifyingly racist? Like,
that's the challenge.
It is.
Yeah.
Like, the fact that and that we are expected to, in the name of respect for craft and respect for canon, that we are supposed to just sort of yada yada the insidiousness of the morality of these movies,
right?
Because they did these specific things well, which half the time we're being told they made up and didn't anyway. Like, D.W. Griffith didn't invent the close-up. He didn't invent cross-cutting in Birth of the Nation. But it's like, these are the justifications that have been used to prop up the idea that we have to continue celebrating vile work, you know, and unfortunately, sometimes they're going to come for your favorites. Like, I hate the fact that when I sit down to watch The General, which is one of the great silent comedies, the birth of the action comedy, etc., like the lineage of so many of my favorite films right back, and then you go back and you watch it and you're like, wait, the fucking Confederates are the heroes here. And then you find out that Buster Keaton changed the story to make the Confederates the hero.
Wow.
And why did you do that, Buster Keaton, who I didn't realize was a horrible racist? Well, because
I literally have a cat named after you. God damn it. Do you understand how much I love you?
And he says, well, because, you know, you want to root for the underdog. It's like, well, not this one. I don't need to root for this particular underdog. No. So that, I think, is I can't even remember where I was originally going with this, but the way to your point, Mike, it's like so much of not just film history, not just literary history, not just art history, but like our history is about choosing to look past the things that we should be talking about instead.
Well, and to talk about the pretty dresses.
Yeah.
The most significant character in that film for me is the woman who runs the brothel.
Mm-hmm.
Is the woman who runs the whorehouse proprietor, whatever you want to call her. Mm-hmm. And the reason why, right, is because she provides almost like an exhaust vent for the depravities that we know that like white slave owning men are committing. Right. She's almost like a receptacle for that allows you to sort of like bypass the rape of enslaved women. Is like, well, you know, man, they're going to cheat, but at least, you know, they're going to cheat with white ladies who are sex workers in a whorehouse, not down in the barn with the darkies. That's not even a notion.
Right.
Like she's a really important part of that lie.
Yeah. Okay, so to sort of draw this section to a conclusion, give me like if there is one, what is the positive takeaway? What is the value for the young film goer, young film interested, film curious, in 2025 to spend 4 hours of their life with this movie? Is there one? Is there something to be learned or taken from the experience of experiencing this film with fresh eyes? No is an acceptable answer.
The first time I had to think about this was actually like the summer of 2020. You know, when everyone sort of like went kind of, you know, it was like, oh my God, racism kills people. Oh shit, maybe we should do something about that. Right. And so like there were consultants who were calling me to be like, well, what do we do? Like, do we keep it like on the on the streaming availability,
Oh,
like
yes,
should there
'cause
be
that was-
like some sort of like essay that comes before it? Like how do you how do you do
I remember
this?
when this was all happening, because this was right after the launch of HBO Now, and this
Yep.
is like the crown jewel of the TCM sidebar, the TCM
Yeah, right.
vertical of HBO Max, and they pulled it for a while and
Mhm.
made a new intro, which you now like see when you
Yeah.
go to watch it on the service. Yeah, okay. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No. I think it depends. Like,
Yeah.
because if you are a kid whose parents have elected to basically sort of like indoctrinate you with PragerU propaganda, right? And like you have like little to no exposure of real history. And you
Right.
see this, it's just sort of reaffirming everything that you've already been, that's already been poured into you. And, and so then it's just like, well, there's more evidence that like these things that I've been hearing all my life were right.
Right.
On the other hand,
Mm-hmm.
part of like the thing that I treasure and take very seriously and love about being a critic is being an evangelist for critical thinking.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to say,
Right.
I don't think we can just sort of like memory hole Gone with the Wind,
Right.
because it's connected to so much other stuff. Like it's so insidious. Like we have to deal with it and we have to talk about it. And then we also have to kind of like talk about ourselves and why these things that were sort of always really quite terrible were so appealing to so many of us. And then also how angry people get when you ask them to maybe consider it a little differently from the way they have this very deep-seated emotional attachment to. And until you can sort of like undo, the way that life and those comforts and the lack of accountability that so many of us like still enjoy from the crime that this movie is justifying, until you can like reframe that in your head, like there's just gonna be another Donald Trump, like 80 years down the line. Like I think you got to deal with it. You have to be able to like see the myth. And I think also it can serve as an important barometer for truly like how we see Black people. If you can sit down and watch that and not sort of just passively accept, oh, these people are just like happy and like they seem to be, like fine, just like their lives revolve completely around like making this awful lady happy and comfortable. Like if you have that voice in your head that's going, this seems weird, you know what I'm saying? Like part of that is like who you're deciding to empathize with and question like, well, what's missing there? Why does this feel funky?
Well said.
I think, you asked about like for young people. I think you can watch this movie and pair it with, and watch it up against Wizard of Oz, which is a convenient thing to watch it with because they both come out at the same time. They're both directed by the same guy in the same way, which is to say he was the head of a collection of guys, right?
Yeah.
And like, if you watch, Dorothy doesn't have a single conflicting moment in the whole movie where she does anything bad or where she says anything bad or does anything dumb or sort of creates her own situation. She gets carried off by a tornado. which Scarlett had no more control over the Civil War than Dorothy had over that tornado, right? I mean, they are both in a situation that is well outside of their control. But if you just want to, I mean, like the flag system, boats and planes have a flag system, right? Movies have a flag system. If you want me to sympathize with a character, have them do something nice for children, animals, or old people in the first 10 to 15 minutes, and I'm with them. If you want me to not like them, have them do something mean to children, animals, or old people in the first 15 minutes. Right. And it's such a trope that it gets turned on its head, even by something, like Night of the Hunter, where he's nice to children, animal, and old people all in the first 15 minutes, and then you find out he's the bad guy, right? This is well established even before movies. It's a matter of storytelling. And all of Dorothy's flags are good guy flags. And all of Scarlett's flags are bad guy flags. She the filmmakers don't like her. Margaret Mitchell was basing that character on her grandmother, and I understand that she went around saying, "Oh, my grandmother, I loved her so much." But what about her actual artistic expression suggests she liked that lady at all? Right. In fact, this may be one of those things that only somebody who grew up with, like, in that house can really tell you how bad it actually is. The rest of us can just sort of guess. And if you don't know the sort of language of the film flag, the flag language of films, those two movies back to back tell me a lot about. And I have found you're not going to find that perspective in very many places. But Fleming didn't like her either, and in fact, neither even did Margaret Mitchell, and that's the nicest thing, as far as I can tell, I can say about Margaret Mitchell.
I hope that like we had that era like before Gamergate, where Anita Sarkeesian kind of like opened a lot of people's eyes and made them think differently about video games. Sure. And I don't know, like part of me, I would not be offended if the Youngs did like a TikTok series on how crazy it is to watch this movie. I think that's that's how those conversations shift.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. But I do want to say, because this just brings me so much joy. So, like, the blockade runner who Rhett Butler is based on, like, the guy in real life, after the Civil War, ends up incarcerated by the feds, right? He's in federal prison in Charleston, South Carolina. The founders of Mother Emanuel buy his land for like less than half of what he paid for it before the war, right? Like fire sale, because like all of his wealth is in like human beings, right? He got no money and he's like sitting in federal prison. So they buy his land. That is the cornerstone of the same like Mother Emanuel Church in Charleston where we had that shooting, and that still stands now.
Wow.
That is a happy ending to the story.
There we go. Didn't think we were going to get there. All right, friends, let's talk about the release and reception of Gone with the Wind, which premiered in New York City simultaneously at the Capitol and Astor Theaters on December 19th, 1939. Also playing in NYC on that day, Destry Rides Again, the full-length feature cartoon, back when that was still a novelty, of Gulliver's Travels, Fifth Avenue Girl, Tower of London, The Private Lives of Elizabeth and Essex, Eternally Yours, W.C. Fields in David O. Selznick's adaptation of David Copperfield, Intermezzo, Goodbye Mr. Chips, Scarlett O'Hara runner-up Paulette Goddard with Bob Hope in The Cat and the Canary, and the Marx Brothers in At the Circus. Mike, what were the news headlines on that day?
God, that's how big this movie was. I barely even heard of any of those other movies. Like Tuesday, December 1939, and all the news is about World War II, and it's depressing as hell.
Oh, right.
Britain is fighting. Germany is winning everywhere. The Japanese are committing every war crime in the book. Unit 731, anybody? Everything is awful. We are on the wrong side of the World War II stories. They get much better a few years later. Right,
Sure,
1939, they're as bad as they
It's
get.
bad.
Yeah.
Here's a question: do you think they made this movie in case we lost to the Krauts and needed a big budget symbol of like what if World War II became a lost cause? Do you think that was on their mind?
Certainly possible. Certainly possible.
In local news, 10 NYPD lieutenants and 1 sergeant in Brooklyn were suspended as part of what was described as a bail bond racket. At the time of publication, they were speculating that additional lieutenants and possibly higher-ranking officers would be added to the indictments. They also said, quote, every precinct in Brooklyn was involved. So good thing they wrapped that up and we haven't had any corruption in the NYPD ever since then.
It's crazy how many bad apples there are. Just all of these single little bad apples. Somehow, at least they haven't spoiled the bunch, huh?
They need to burn that fucking orchard down. Finally, the World War II movie that we all need to see. Deep in The Gray Lady on page L11, there's a story about a particular group of people who were put into a concentration camp in France because, quote, they might be the ideal spies. Any idea why they might be the ideal spies?
No.
It was said that they could, quote, hide in a drawer, unquote. So there were 10 little people working in a Lilliputian village, and they all got arrested on pure speculation because they were small enough to fit in a drawer, so they just arrested the whole lot of them and put them in a concentration camp. Okay,
oh my God.
The story here is almost certainly bullshit that any of these people were doing anything other than working in the only place where they actually could, right?
Yeah.
But when Soderbergh makes his World War II movie, okay, the twist is that they actually are spies. One of them hides in a drawer and kills Hitler. I'm saying this is the World War II movie that we all need to see. Jason, what did the critics say about Gone with the Wind?
I feel like that's more of the sort of if Tarantino decides to make another World War II movie.
Just wee man just hanging off of Hitler's neck.
I don't know if Soderbergh is as comfortable completely changing history as Mr. Tarantino is. I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong. The Times Frank S. Nugent opined, quote, it is pure narrative as the novel was, rather than great drama as the novel was not. But that we would imply you will leave it not with the feeling you have undergone a profound emotional experience, but with the warm and grateful remembrance of an interesting story beautifully told. Is it the greatest motion picture ever made? Probably not, although it is the greatest motion mural we have seen and the most ambitious filmmaking venture in Hollywood's spectacular history.
That train's here a minute early. Can you believe how good those trains are?
At the New Republic, Otis Ferguson wrote, quote, as a matter of fact, Gone with the Wind stands around on its own foot purely out of size and story complexity. The history it dabbles with is true enough to the mood of a time, a place, a certain position in life, but history gives out by the end of the first picture. He's referring to the two halves before and after intermission, sorry. And to keep things going in the sequel, they shift from period to personal with some effect, but no total success. Scarlett is too many things in too rapid succession. The exact point of her aspirations is confused. There is so much sobbing and color and DeMille display, such a mudbath of theme music, that a clean realization of character or events is out of the question. Their ingenuity in pulling this vast sprawl together was enormous, and their public acclaim is deserved. They put enough talent into it to make one good picture, but there they were, up to the neck in 4 years, $4 million, 4 hours running time, end quote. To get a fully negative review, we have to flash forward to 1973. I believe, again, near a re-release or something, when Stanley Kaufman wrote in The Atlantic, quote, I can't remember why I saw Gone with the Wind a second time in 1960. The first time was the year it came out in 1939. I hope to never see it again. Twice is twice as much as any lifetime needs. But it's remarkable that after spending almost 8 hours of my existence in front of this film, I can remember only 2 points vividly. I can kid myself that I remember much discussed moments, the crane shot of the wounded at Atlanta, Hattie McDaniel talking herself down the long stairway, and so on. But what really sticks in my mind is first the title itself, floating in with the wind from right to left, one giant billowy letter at a time. And second, here you go, Mike, a scene among Southern gentlemen near the beginning before the outbreak of war. Rhett Butler makes a truthful remark about the South's poor chances, and a young hot blood challenges him to a duel. Rhett takes the youth's impetuosity calmly and turns away. Another man tells the gloating youth that his life has been spared, for Butler is the best pistol shot in the South. I suppose this means that the film is most significant to me as a property, and that only one of its cavalier flourishes struck a deep response in my own system of fantasies. End quote. Stanley Kaufman, ladies and gentlemen. Mike, how did it do in terms of box office and awards?
Still doing fine. It did just fine in both. I wish there wasn't an audience for this fucking nonsense, but you know, I know where I live. It did, in the first year or so of its original release, it only played roadshow engagements. And for the first 6 months, at the then astronomical price of $1 or more per ticket. It then went into general release in 1941. By the end of its initial run, it had grossed $189 million, and that is not adjusted for inflation. When you add in its re-releases and adjust for inflation, it has grossed approximately $3.44 billion, making it the most commercially successful movie of all time. It's not just that there's an audience. This is our favorite shit. This is the story we want to hear about ourselves.
We love making them myths, baby.
Oh, man.
At the 12th Academy Awards, it was nominated for 13 Oscars and won 10, including Best Picture, Best Director, Best Adapted Screenplay, Best Actress for Vivien Leigh, and Best Supporting Actress for Hattie McDaniel, making her the first black actor to win an Academy Award. It is worth noting that McDaniel and her escort were required to sit at a segregated table for two at the far wall of the ballroom at the Coconut Grove restaurant of the Ambassador Hotel, which had a strict whites-only policy.
That should just like always be the asterisk when you talk about how many Oscars this movie won.
Supposedly, Cary Grant was like, if she can't come, I ain't fucking coming. That's
real?
The story that I heard. Yeah, that Cary Grant was like, if you want her to be at any of these events, like if you want me at any of these events, she has to be there too, like standing next to me.
I hope to God that's true. Yeah,
that's supposedly they had a relationship before the movie, like a friendship, a genuine friendship before the movie, and supposedly he wrote for her at every opportunity during the making of the film and also after.
Clark, to clarify, Clark Gable, you mean? You said Cary Grant. You said Cary Grant.
Yes. I clearly meant Rhett Butler. My fault. Yeah. Rhett Butler stood up for her at every opportunity is the story I've heard. So
that's great. That's good. Good on him.
I also heard that he got Cukor fired because Cukor had seen him at gay bathhouses. But I put less. There's less backing for that one.
Sure.
Because McDaniel's the one that supposedly told the stories about him. So I think there's a little more backing for that one. But the story about him and Cukor in a gay bathhouse is just fun to think about.
Like possibly like the one good thing that comes out of this is Rita Dove's poem, Hattie McDaniel Arrives at the Coconut Grove.
Oh. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We will link that in the show notes.
We will read that as soon as we're done here.
Now it's time for a segment we call Double It Up, where we each select one movie that we think would make an ideal double feature with today's focal film. Obviously, you don't want to watch another movie after watching a 4-hour movie, but for the purpose of the segment, we're just going to, ideal double feature with today's focal film. Soraya, you're our guest, which means you go first.
It's a draw between Nope and Get Out. Right? I mean, Get Out is basically one giant, like allegory about America's right? It's a movie about American slavery. But then Nope is about us like choking on our own myths. So I feel like either one of those would pair rather nicely.
I think you're right. I went with another movie about working the land in the South. Another historical drama, but one directed by a very gifted Black woman named Dee Reese, and that's a film called Mudbound. Which I think is, I think, a really effective counterpoint, telling a story of American history that is a great deal more nuanced and complicated, and granting the complexities of human beings and their race and their sex and all sorts of other considerations. It's sweeping, it's historical, it's moving. I really, really love this motion picture. And frankly, if it could just sort of supplant Gone with the Wind in the cultural consciousness, I think we'd all be richer for it. Mike, what's your pick?
My pick is less sort of thematically related and more sort of related by experience. But what's that movie where Hitler's pounding on his desk? Downfall. Has anybody ever seen Downfall?
Oh, yeah.
Right? Okay, now I am born after, I watch movies after Taxi Driver. Hell, even after Mommy Dearest. I can watch a movie and not relate to the protagonist. So for me, Downfall was great. It's just this fucking loser in a hole for 4 days with everything going terribly for him. And he created all of these problems. He deserves everything that happens to him. Unlike her, at the end, he has the sack and the self-conception to shoot himself in the head and get burned by his friends. Spoiler alert, Hitler doesn't survive. Frankly, I found the movie was closer to my experience of it was closer to that than anything else. All this terrible shit happens to this lady for 4 hours, and I didn't feel sorry for her once. Nope. I never related to her. I never hoped things went well for her because she fucking deserved everything she got. And it's the exact same feeling I had watching Hitler in the bunker. Watch Downfall. It's a much more enjoyable movie. And more historically accurate.
It is.
With a maybe slightly even more noxious lead character. Sorry, go ahead. You got to try pretty hard, but they did it with that one.
Soraya, where can people follow you on social media and read your work?
I am at SorayaNadiaMcDonald.com on Blue Sky and at Soraya McDonald on Instagram. I am currently freelancing and working on my first book. And hopefully I'll have like some more substantial news to report on that soon.
Fingers crossed.
So you can find me, I don't know, wherever my byline lands these days. I got another essay brewing for the New York Times, so probably there.
Glad to hear that. I'm Jason Bailey on Blue Sky Letterboxd. Mike, where can people find you?
I am Fifth Column Films on Instagram and Blue Sky.
And of course, if you like the show and think other people might like it too, come on now, rate, review, 5 stars, do it where you got this. If you'd like to join our mailing list and get weekly show notes and all of that good shit, you can do that at buttondown.email/filmfanatic. And if you're one of those very strange people, but people we love who like to watch videos of people recording a podcast, everybody wave, blow a little kiss. There you go. You'll find us on YouTube. The channel is Guide for the Film Fanatic.
Our humblest thanks to our guiding light, Mr. Danny Perry, author of Guide for the Film Fanatic, and shout out to executive producer Blake Howard. I told him we were doing this movie, and I was worried about our reputation, and he told me, with enough courage, you can do without a reputation.
Thank you again. Thank you again, Soraya.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Jason.
And thank you for listening.